The criticism of Chelsea, of course, over the last few seasons is their inability to find the back of the net. What they've done is just buy everyone now and hope that somehow it's going to work out in the final third. We've talked a lot, obviously, about the signing of Delap. Well, you can add now Joao Pedro, the latest name of squad members amongst Chelsea. Jamie Gittens, of course, joined as well. These are all according to reports that these are going to be a done deal. Mario is with us, Mark Ogden as well. Mark, what the heck is going on at Chelsea?
Listen, it's a strange one, isn't it? We know they signed Delap and they're bringing in Gittens. This one just seems to be a case of, well, Newcastle want him, so let's go and sign him to stop a Premier League rival getting him. There doesn't seem to be any logic to it. It seems to be a case of let's just get as many players as possible and try and find a way to play them. But they must have about 8, 9, 10 forwards right now. And, I think Delap's a decent forward, but I think the rest of them, I'm not too sure they're going to make them any better.
For those who haven't seen him play at Brighton, where's his best position? What does he offer, Mark? And is he worth this money?
Well, he'll play off the front man. He'll play off the lap or off Nico Jackson. He'll float around the front line, which a lot of players do these days. He can play on the right and the left, but he likes to play just as the second striker. He's a decent player. He's got a lot about him. He's got a lot of tenacity. He developed Brighton last season. He's got a bit of a hot temper, I guess. So putting him and Jackson together might be a bit of a problem considering the red card he's been collecting recently. But he's a good player, but I don't know if he's the sort of player that will take Chelsea from where they are to where they need to be. But again, it's just a case of signing a player that other clubs want and try to find a way for the coach to fit them in. But he's a decent forward, there's no doubt about that. But again, I'm not quite sure that he's a guy that's going to take them to win the Premier League, for instance.
And that is the problem, isn't it, Mario? If I'm a Chelsea fan watching this, I'm thinking, right, we've brought another attacker who's a 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it makes me question about the situation, like what Mark said. Look, you have a striker already. We talked about Jackson prior to this. You understand that he needed competition. You bring Delap in, and now you have a situation of someone that wasn't even... I don't think this was a long situation on their mind of thinking like, oh, we want to get, Pedro in. Okay, you get a player in that I clearly think that, okay, he's got a call up for Brazil, so he's clearly moving forward. He's very creative. He comes up, he sets people up. So it's not that it's about the ability of the player, but it's about he likes a free role. That's where he, especially the last season for Brighton, that's where he operated more than as a striker. But who else plays there for Chelsea? That's Palmer. That is their main guy. So I'm asking now, okay, are you now backing up players and saying but you don't need to back up. You got a full squad. You got so many players, you understand? I think now you need to focus on who is going to play. You don't need to focus on who's going to add more and more and more, because you're going to dismantle what you already have. So you got to be careful with that.
It's interesting, Mario brings up the fact that he's a Brazilian international, and Chelsea fans will be saying, how can you be so negative towards someone who plays for Brazil coming in? But this is a team, by the way, which Richarlison started up front for Brazil of late. That's where they are with regards to their striking power. This doesn't seem to make much sense.
That whole list that we just showed there, outside of perhaps Cole Palmer, that description that Mark made of Joao Pedro, you can apply that description to every player on that list. Just about every player on that list fits that same description. A guy that could do this, could do that, could develop into something, there is potential, but we ask ourselves the very same question. Does this signing make Chelsea exponentially and significantly better? And the answer is no, not really, no, kind of, sort of, but not quite. And that's where I think I have the issue with Chelsea is that, look, you want to spend your money? Go ahead. Do so. But instead of banking on 2-3 players' potential, how about you go and get yourself a player that we know is going to produce consistently? And so don't throw 70 here, 55 there. Put all that together and throw 150 at somebody that actually makes sense. Because you already have squad depth. So why are you adding more numbers into the mix? Why are you bringing more players to muddle the conversation once again? And I put myself in the shoes of Enzo Maresca. They're making all these signings, right? And does he have an input? Is he saying, bring me this guy and bring me that guy? Because if he's not, all of that this is doing is complicating his job. He was trying to streamline his team towards the end of last season, and now we're actually, instead of streamlining it, we're making it bigger for players that are not significantly better than the guys that you already had. To your point, Dan, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Go on, Mario.
Yeah, but Ali, you know what they also do? They look, they have someone on their team, you know, of the squad list. Those are guys that were at Brighton prior to when the new owners came in. They brought the guys over, so the guys are familiar with that team. They've brought in so many players already from that club. And I'm asking myself now, like, they know the background, they know the setup, the way Brighton goes beyond their players. And they got incredible the way they do it, because it's really well worked for that club. But now I have a question, like, you cannot tell me that, you want to tell me now half of the squad of Brighton now has to go to Chelsea? That's the question that a lot of the guys have to answer now, because they have like, 5 or 4 players they took already from them, and some worked out well, and some, you know, you just waiting and see, and that is not a good thing.
Here's the other thing, Dan. All these long-term contracts. You're signing this deal for 7 years.
Yep.
So you're tying yourself up. If for a squad player, not a guy who's going to start and score a bunch of goals for you, a guy that may start and could score a few goals for you, but not players that are taking you to a different level entirely. And so it just, I don't know exactly what the game plan here is for Chelsea. It's certainly different. We can say that. It's different than what we're used to. Maybe it's going to end up working out in the end, but it doesn't seem like it.
And Mark, what are they going to do with everyone? They can't keep everybody, surely.
Well, no, they can't. Last season, we know that what Maresca did. He got rid of people like Chilwell and Sterling and told them they weren't going to play, and then he played the rest of them in the Conference League. But you can't do that this season. You can't have a Champions League squad and a Premier League squad, because your senior players will want to play in both competitions. So they'll have to move some players on. But, you know, like Ali says, how do you do that when players have got 6, 7, 8 year contracts? And they're doing that to try and get around the PSR, FFP rules by. It's really boring amortisation, financial stuff, but that's why they're doing it. They're giving these long contracts. But the situation is, you're going to have some players, let's say Cole Palmer, for instance, if he gets fed up or wants to leave Chelsea, he's got 7 years left on his contract, so how do they do it? So there's going to be a situation not far down the line where players are thinking, I need to get away, I need to move, but I'm stuck here because I've got his massive contract on, you know, came on a big fee. So I don't quite know what the end game is. At the minute, it's a way to get around the financial restrictions, but I don't quite know how successful it'll be in the long run to have 30, 40 players on long contracts and a lot of them not playing.
And things haven't exactly... I understand they finished season well, Mark, and they qualified for the Champions League and they won the Conference League. But overall, considering the amount of money that Chelsea have spent, this plan hasn't exactly bared much fruit so far. If you compare it to someone like PSG, who've also gone for younger players, but that seems to have worked much better for them.
Yeah, you know, and Chelsea aren't very good. I remember seeing the game against Man United towards the end of the season. Chelsea won 1-0, and it was if you didn't know which team was at the top end of the table and which was at the bottom end of the table, you wouldn't know much difference. And Chelsea kind of walking that tightrope. Yes, they won the Conference League, but it's a competition that nobody wants to win because nobody wants to be in it. And they might get to the final of the Club World Cup, but again, it's a competition that they're only in because they won the Champions League 4 years ago. So Chelsea aren't a very good team, and next season they could fall off because they've got a lot of players in that squad who are potential players, and a lot of potential players never seem to make it. You know, if you sign 10 young players, you're very lucky if 3 or 4 come through. Now, Chelsea have got a lot of those players, so I don't quite know where it goes. And people saying, oh, they're doing really well in the Club World Cup, they're showing some great performances. Maresca's plan is beginning to bear fruit. It's a lot of rubbish because playing at this stage of the season, when you're playing in the summer, you know, at the end of the season, no, the people that are covering Chelsea right now, they're trying to find positives, but the situation is, at the end of the season, at the start of the season, what sort of shape are they going to be when the season gets, 3 or 4 months in? Are they going to be tired? Are they going to start the season well? Are they going to be starting the season off the pace because they're going to take 2 or 3 weeks off in the summer? You can't judge Chelsea on what they're doing right now. So there's a lot of questions to be asked about Chelsea, and like I said, last season they weren't very convincing at all. So that Champions League finish was a fortuitous one because of the way it ended with 5 teams getting the Champions League, but I wouldn't be convinced by Chelsea next season at all.
Mario?
Yeah, my biggest question is what Mark also said, all the points that he's highlighting. But my question is, how much input does Maresca has in the players that are coming to that club? Because now it feels like, like remember when we started, you understand? They started buying, and now it almost looks like, are the guys that recruit the players, are they more saying what they want instead of what the coach wants? Because some of the questions, you also have to remember that the things that he wants, are they coming to the club? Because I clearly have seen like the guys that he left out, you understand? So the players like the Sterlings and, you know, like there are so many in that team that don't fit his criteria anymore. But now they're bringing in others, and you don't want it to happen again because now, okay, they are quality players at their club. But are they fit to play the system that he wants to play? And if it's not, it just becomes so many numbers at a club that is too big, I think, to fail.
And when can we expect a bid from Chelsea for Marcus Rashford, Mark?
Well, he's too old. Because, I mean, all joking aside, they sign players who are 24 years and younger, so they're not signing Marcus Rashford. But, you know, if they do want to sign Marcus Rashford, they'll have to get in a very long queue of clubs who want him. No, that's a joke. No, listen, the situation with Rashford...
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a Mark Ogden joke. Woo! There it is.
Oh, my.
Yeah. No, I mean,
he's here all week.
Listen, the situation... after 2 weeks, yeah. The situation with Rashford is that he'll be back at Man United next week because obviously Aston Villa didn't want to take him on permanently. We knew that was going to happen, but they confirmed that this week that they won't trigger the £40 million deal to sign him. Why would they? He scored, I think, 2 Premier League goals. So the reality is that he'll be back at Man United next week, pre-season training. Now the question we don't have an answer to yet is, will he be allowed to train with the first team? Will Ruben Amorim have him with the squad, or will he be cast aside and forced to train with the kids and say, you're not coming on the summer tour? I think it's going to be the latter. I don't think Amorim wants him around the squad. So you're going to have this long, drawn-out situation whereby United want to get rid of him, he wants to leave, but there's nobody that really wants him because he's on massive, massive money, 3 years left on a contract worth over £300,000 a week. He's not earning it. There was a lot of, again, you know, kind of positive spin on his performances for Aston Villa. He scored 2 goals against Preston and 2 in the Premier League. That was it. That's all he did in 6 months. So United's going to find it difficult. Now he wants to go to Barcelona. There is interest from Barcelona, surprisingly enough, but I don't see that happening very quickly. That might be a situation that happens at the end of August, because why would you make a rush to sign Marcus Rashford now? I think the reality is with Rashford, if you're a club that's looking at him, you'll think, let's see how desperate United get at the end of the window to get rid of him. I think he's going to be there for a while, and while he's there, we're going to have this saga whereby the team will be on tour in the US playing the Premier League trophy, and Marcus Rashford might be playing, you know, pre-season friendlies with the reserves in non-league grounds in England. It's going to be tough for United and for Rashford.